Hey everyone, what's going on? Greg here again from Team Blast. Local SEO does take time to see results for my clients. I want to kind of share how I look at everything, how I track their progress, and then why it's so critical to have consistent SEO work take place in your account because it does take a little bit of effort and time for you to get that hockey stick effect to get more high quality impressions, phone calls, and leads for your business. So the keyword here is Locksmith Aurora CO. My client is the red line. We got a lot of baseline metrics back in December and January, but we were noticing that this keyword was dropping share of local voice. It kind of bottomed out in March, and then April was when we really started to see our fruits of our labor kind of pay off. And now May and beyond, we are at the highest share of local voice percentage. We have the most dots 1, 2, and 3. We're on page one in the 6 mile radius. Just to look at just their trend line. So every time you run a scan, you get a little drop. Now, if you run a lot of scans, by the way, in Local Falcon, they're going to actually not show every single scan. So I put everything into Excel, which I'm going to show in a bit. But you can see that this is where our rank was. We dropped off completely, and now we're at the highest level. They're getting really good impressions now and leads, and also, most importantly, customers. Every time I run a Local Falcon scan, I put this into Excel for the keyword, and then I take the month average. So January, February, March, and April, there's a lot of columns in there. I just hide them all, and I take the average of every time I run a scan and then put that right there. So I can say, okay, January we had a 60%, February 47%, March was when it got really bad at 34%. But then April, we started to see a rebound to 48%. And now in May, we're at a 77% for a share of local voice. We're almost up at 30% more month over month. That's why my clients gain some pretty good leads for their business. So just to put in context, when I onboard a local SEO client, I don't really know all their competitors, but Local Falcon does. So when I run a scan, I can see actually every business here that's roughly in the 6 mile radius that's competing for this one keyword, how many businesses there are. You can just look at this and say, wow, there's definitely more than, let's say, 40 or 50 businesses right here. This kind of gives you an idea of why local SEO is so critical. You're going up against 50 different businesses. They're all competing for the same keyword, and there's only 3 spots organically you can rank to be on page one, dots 1, 2, and 3. So you have an idea of when you look at this and say, wow, if we're positioned, let's say 41 for this keyword, we have to move up, 38 spots just to kind of get into like that top three. So when you're really moving, it can take a few months to really go from flipping dots from red to orange, and then orange to yellow to light green, and then finally green to get on page one. So that's why it does take a little bit of time. So what was done at a high level? So Local Falcon scans for that keyword and every keyword that I track. So you have to get the baseline. If you're not tracking your keywords within Local Falcon, I think you're really missing out, because if you're just tracking it from an SEM Rush or Ahrefs perspective for that location, you're missing the whole radius. So if you're only tracking, let's say let's say your business is in Dallas, Texas, and you're only tracking your rankings in Dallas, you're missing every town around the area that you service. So track it in Local Falcons will be much better. Then you have to document each SoLV scan in Excel. So I do a lot of hourly SEO consulting for local SEO specialists, and I always give them the same recommendation. It's really hard to share graphs sometimes from Local Falcon, so take the aggregate ranking and show if there's improvement or not. Also, this will really help you moving forward to see, okay, this keyword's moving up, this keyword, however, is dropping down. I need to take a look at that and see how I can flip it. Next, you need to review the map. So the scans that you do, you need to look at the dots I say 4 through 7. I used to say 4 through 6, but I've really expanded that now to 4 through 7. Look for ways you can flip those dots, get them on page one for your client. Next, of course, is making changes to your Google My Business account. I'm going to get into that in the next slide, but there's a lot of things you can do. Now, entity building, this is critical for any local SEO client. You've probably watched some videos of mine. I always talk about entity building. You have to make sure Google and Bing and any other search, and even probably ChatGPT too, you have to find ways to build resources online that talk about your local business and to confirm that this is where you do your business and this is the areas you service. It's more critical now than ever. Plus, also you can get referral traffic too. And then finally, basic website changes are important now. For a locksmith, what I noticed is that most people are just going to call on the Google My Business account. They're not going to really necessarily go to the landing page and read. But that might not be the case though for every business. Like if you're a cleaner, it might be more advantageous for you to go and build out your landing pages with a lot of detail and photos. For a locksmith, generally it's an emergency, and therefore you have to call. All right, Google My Business changes, just a rough summary. So there's a lot things that I've done for them, but also for all my clients too. They get regular reviews and they respond to these reviews. That's obviously number one. So you have to get reviews. Reviews are important. They're not the biggest factor in my opinion, but I think they help influence a click through rate, which can then potentially improve your rankings as well. They also get reviews in the area of Aurora. So I think that also helps in another indirect way. Next, the client sends me photos of them doing the work. So stock photography is not the case. That's very important. Make sure you're not doing just stock photos. Get authentic photos of the team. Again, indirect signals for your keywords, I think, really help. Next, I expanded their description on their Google My Business account. You've up to, I think, 750 characters. Take advantage of that real estate space. Write as much as you can about what you do, the areas you service. Take all the space you can to fill that out. Next, I refocus their service areas. You have up to 20 you can list within Google. What I typically notice is when I onboard clients, they only mention 3 or 4 big metros. You can get very granular. You can get very specific into the towns and the cities nearby. And again, when you look at that map in your dots 4 through 7, look for those areas to kind of maybe list off. Next, build out your services and products with what you offer. So get descriptive. Talk about being a locksmith, this area, the services you do. Sometimes if you only list off a couple services or products, you're missing out on those secondary keywords as well. Next, I expand their question answer content. So I got very clear that we service this area, but we also service areas around. Q&As are also, you can add that to the website too. That can be pulled into an answer box or even a ChatGPT response as well. So question answers, quite important. Next, they have a physical address. So physical addresses are always important. I get, I would say, two leads every month from somebody who just started a business that does not have a physical address. And they always say the same thing. I'm looking to grow and I'm going to invest basically if I see a little bit of results. I get that a lot. I'm probably gonna make a video about that because it comes up quite a bit. The thing is that if I know it's an investment, but if you're looking for the quickest way to show results, having a physical location will trump a service area business only because it is proof. You can drop a pin on the map. I think it gives more credit because a lot of times you can be starting businesses and it might seem kind of like a hobby in Google's mind, and they really want to show an actual established location that is going to be committed to the area. That's just my opinion. But also all the clients I have too, I think it kind of proves out. And then next, review local Falcon scans. See if you're taking share away, keep running the scans, see how the map is changing. You can do a trend line, you can do a map progression view. There's a lot of things you can look at to see if you're starting to change the map from all the changes you are implementing. Final thoughts here. Local SEO takes trial and error. So again, every client or potential client that reaches out to me, I don't know your industry and I don't know the area that you service unless somehow you're exactly in upstate New York, which is where I'm at. So a lot of times it's me looking over the scans and trying to get an idea of, okay, these are the competitors, here's who's doing well. I'm going to change their description. I'm going to change like my client's description or products or services or make updates or change their primary category or secondary category. I'm going to do a lot of different things and I'm going to document that. I need to figure out what's going to work. It's going to be a lot of failure. But the failure allows us to know, okay, this did not work. We need to do something different. You have to understand too that competitors have SEO on their mind as well. So whether they are doing it themselves or they have an outside agency, chances are if you're at the top for your core terms, you're there for a reason. And your SEO specialist does not want to lose those rankings because when you lose those rankings, that's when phone calls slow down. That's when leads slow down. That's when it gets very noticeable. So you have to understand that you're also going up against companies that are investing in this because they know it works. And then another thing to understand too, there's so many other factors. There's new companies coming in. There's new competitors always establishing themselves. There's spammy profiles that get created. There's so many other factors that you really can't control for your business. So you have to, focus on what you can do and build out your Google My Business map. And then also, build out secondary sites too, like Bing Maps and Apple Maps and your website and ChatGPT and Gemini and everything like that. But it all really goes into local SEO. So what I really like, again, if I just go back up to the very top over here, this is how their map has changed. 2 months ago, 1 month ago, and then today. The map is greener. They're getting more quality leads. When I check in with my client, they're getting more customers, and they're good customers, and they're turning into projects for them. But it takes time. So if let's say we stopped after 2 months, they wouldn't see this hockey stick effect that's taking place now. So I wanted to share this video because if you're working on your local SEO, you might be getting frustrated. That's taking a couple months for it to really pay off. Keep working at it. It's totally worth the investment because you're going to be able to then get that exposure and those potential leads and those clients from the better rankings. because you went through the process. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, have a good rest of your day.